Hi everybody, it's Jonathan Scott of the Big Cat People. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, or maybe you've only just found it. Be sure to press the button to register so as we can always notify you when we've got a new YouTube video to share with you. Now we have two types of videos. We have behind the scenes of our fine art prints, the story behind the characters, the animals that we photographed and that we love so much. And then we've got top tips for you as photographers. Well, today, and this is something which is really quite a challenge. How do you make a living as a photographer? Well, I think it was probably a lot easier some years ago because nowadays everybody's a photographer. There are so many images out there. I only have to go on social media, on Facebook or Twitter, on Instagram, and see the wealth of images that people are capturing. And of course, camera technology. I mean, look at Canon now with their new R system, EOS R5, a mirrorless camera, which just has unlimited options for you as a photographer to be able to up your game. So the technology certainly won't stop you to becoming a photographer. The price might do, of course, but then, go on eBay, buy secondhand equipment. There's lots of equipment. The technology changes so quickly that it's your opportunity to buy stuff much cheaper than it might at first appear. So you need a camera, you need the lenses, and I think one of the most important things is the quality of the glass, the quality of the lens. That's the eyes of your camera. Even more important, as they say, the camera is just a box with a hole in it. The glass is everything. So let's say you've got your equipment, you're up and running, and now you want to try and make a living. And of course people argue, well, what is a professional photographer? What does it mean? Does it mean that you earn more than 50% of your income from your photography? It doesn't really matter, does it? But if you do want to make a living, let's just go through the ways in which you can do it. Well, in the old days, if you're a Nat Geo photographer, you had almost unlimited budgets. You could be assigned as a Nat Geo photographer and you worked with them full-time, no longer. They contract photographers to go out on assignments. And of course, in the old days, you would put your images that you had taken, and remember in those days, I'm talking 20 years ago, we were talking transparency, slide film. But in those days, you would take your images, you'd go off, say to the Maasai Mara, on safari in Africa, you'd come back, select the best of your images, and you'd put them into a picture library. And then that would generate an income for you, the best kind of income, passive income. You did the hard yards, you did the trip, and now your images are with an agency, you hold the copyright, and they market the images. And if you're lucky, well, you'll get 50% of the net income. But then everybody started becoming photographers. And people like Getty and Corbis, the big boys with 100 million images on file, took over a lot of the smaller agencies. They just ate them up. And the downside of that was that actually now suddenly the agency reduced the amount of income that was coming back to you as a photographer. So for us, when we had images with Getty, you'd get 30% of the net income, not 50% or 60% if you were lucky, which is how we started off with our first agency, Planet Earth Pictures. But then with more and more people taking pictures, more and more people, and the providers, whether it's television, whether it was newspapers, just encouraging everybody, if you have an image, send it to us. We'll give you a credit. Won't pay the bills. But with so many images, the value of the images dropped. Now, in the old days, I remember somebody advising me and Angie that you could pretty much say that your annual income from images in an agency was $1 per picture. So if you had 10,000 images with an agency, you could pretty much reckon you'd get $10,000 per annum from your pictures. Very nice. If you could, forget that now. And you will find, some of our friends will say, actually the value of your images now is on building your presence on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So you now, and we do this ourselves. You need to build an audience for yourself. And one of the benefits of the new technology of the web is that you have to create your own shop window. Because generally, the picture agencies are not your first to go-to way of monetizing your images. But building a social media presence for what? Well, because it'll mean that you can evolve an audience who you can then tell when you're going to do a lecture. Let's say Angie and I are going to the Royal Geographical Society in London, and you are going to get paid to do it, and your expenses paid as well. So by building that audience and then being able to sensitize them as to what you're doing, you can monetize your abilities as photographers and as speakers. Now, one of the things that a lot of people do, and I think this is becoming more and more, although obviously with COVID and with the pandemic, travel is not as easy as it was. But a lot of people, once they have the photographic skills, once they're able to actually teach other people how to be a photographer, they sell safaris. They act as hosts and guides on trips, which we do to a limited degree. You can join us with C4 Photo Safaris, where we host 1 or 2 trips a year, maybe in the Mara, might be in Antarctica, could be anywhere in the world. And so again, there is income for you because you're part of the package, and either you'll be paid a fee by the tour operator, or you will be actually organizing and selling the trip yourself and building in your fee in there as well. Books. Very few people ever make much money out of books, but the benefit of a book is it's like a giant business card. When you do talks, if you've got books that you can sell, do a deal with the publisher, get them at a good reduction, and then sell them to your audience and sign them. It's a lovely add-on to you as a speaker. But in terms of, we do it for love. So we've got a new book coming out in 2021, Sacred Nature, 2nd volume, reconnecting people to our planet, looking at the whole planet, not just the Mara Serengeti. So you'll make a few bob out of it, but it certainly won't keep you, it won't help your pension. So there's books, television work. Can you actually become a photographer who appears on television, like Angie does on Big Cat Tales? That's another thing. And then who's going to actually sponsor you? Well, we're very fortunate to be Canon Ambassadors, which means that we get access to the newest technology and don't have to pay the prices that many people will have to get to pay for their new equipment. So those are the benefits again, but you've got to build a reputation. So build your social media presence. Come up with innovative products or projects, things that other people are not doing. Find something and own it, and then leverage it for everything you can. It's no good these days just to be a still photographer. Every still camera, pretty much now, is also a video camera. So you can video your story as well and use that on social media. So you've got all of these benefits now that you can use. You've got to take charge and then learn about editing. I can remember a photographer who had been an editor saying, you know, if you've been an editor, then when you photograph with a purpose in mind. Like Angie, she sees a beautiful picture of a male lion, and she thinks to herself, double page spread, leave some room to one side, think ahead for the text. A beautiful panoramic or a beautiful landscape with a nice clear sky where you can write last place on earth. An editor can use it. And if you're sending your pictures off because you want to, and yes, it's still part of the game, to have your pictures represented by a picture agency. And remember, you have the copyright. They always are yours. And you only have to give the images to the agency that you want to. You can still reserve the right to use images for yourself in your own books, Christmas cards, calendars, whatever. Remember, when you select your pictures and you send them to somebody, don't send them, 200 images right up front. Send them a sample of your very best images and be sure to send them a variety, portraits, landscapes. Show them your skills. And lastly, as a photographer, don't get stuck in a rut. I think today more than ever, you've got to be able to take pictures of weddings, of cookery, of camps and lodges, everything. Look at sports photography, look at lifestyle, look at cookery. And then learn and feel inspired and create your own way of saying. I hope that helps. We've certainly managed to keep going. You can too. And if it's not going to be your profession, just love taking photographs.